Alright guys, today is Monday, April 23rd, 2018, and I want to share with you an important word that I just learned. It's called magnanimous. Now, what does magnanimous mean? At least my interpretation of it. I looked it up on the internet to get an idea. But magnanimous means to be bigger, greater than the situation, and also abundant in forgiveness and grace. So let me illustrate through an example what it means and how you should apply it to your life, and why I need you to listen to this and hopefully apply this to your lives, because I consider it very important, a very important lesson. So as you already know, I'm having a difficult time at work because I have no appointments. Last week I had 0 appointments from bankers. This week,
in 2 miles, take exit 15W for I-280 toward Newark, Kearney.
This week so far I have 0 appointments as well. I don't know if you can hear the GPS, by the way, but that's why if I stop talking anyway. But on the phone call with my boss and my partner Saeed, his boss, since I informed Saeed via text message that I was, 0 appointments last week, 0 appointments this week, I didn't tell, I believe in integrity. I take a street approach, which is I'm going to have your back, have my back, right? I'm not going to throw you under the bus. I'm going to give you the heads up. I'm going to prepare you so that out of fairness, even if we disagree, we can disagree fairly. So I let him know in advance, which I always do anyway, because we always look at the numbers either way. But, there were 0 appointments last week, 0 appointments this week. And he replied back to me by text message saying that he was going to discuss the lack of advisor engagement, which could mean several things, but I knew it was going to mean that he would want to highlight the fact that I haven't been in the office a lot the last couple of weeks. Now, again, for the record, my job, I do have that type of flexibility where I don't have to work a 9 to 5. I can come and go as I please. But still, nonetheless...
In half a mile, take exit 15W for I-280 toward Newark, Kearney.
Still, nonetheless, there are certain expectations, right? Like, I can't, not show up to work, and I have to be present enough to make sure that I'm productive, and I'm giving the bankers the opportunity to be productive as well. So, Saeed...
Take exit 15W.
Because Saeed failed last week and this week, instead of taking ownership, which he's been doing for several weeks... But, he's gotten frustrated, right? Especially since it's 0-0, he decided to try to shift blame onto me. First of all, you don't do that, right? That is not an act of integrity. You always have to be willing to look internally and say, what could I have done differently? And take ownership. If you're at fault, you're at fault. It is what it is. And if it means that maybe you got to lose your job, well, in his case, that's not going to happen because he's very good at what he does. Right? But if it means that, you're placing your name at risk, if you will, it is what it is. But that's how you learn. That's how you grow. And by being with integrity and being honest, you allow for others the opportunity to give you feedback and for yourself to grow so that you can collectively identify what's not working and come up with new ideas and fix the problem. But Saeed, I guess, after being frustrated for so long of not fixing the problem, which in reality I don't think he is the problem. The problem is, as I've stated before, to some degree the bankers, we have bankers filled with ego, but at the same time, I shouldn't just be in one branch. I should be in multiple branches. Anyway, back to the word magnanimous after this short break. After these messages... We'll be right back. I don't know what happened to my GPS. Hopefully it'll still talk to me because I have to drive. So, magnanimous. On the phone call, after Saeed tried to throw me under the bus, I very professionally and in a calm, low voice said that, unfortunately, long story short, I don't believe that the problem here is that lack of advisor engagement. The reality is that whether I'm there or not, the bankers are not putting appointments on my calendar. And it's not because there's any problem with the advisor. It's not because there's nothing that the advisor could do differently. And unfortunately, what we're doing here is attempting to shift blame to the advisor. Okay? That was although it was professionally done, it was still a swipe at Saeed. I was calling him out. I was being with integrity and saying what the truth is. The truth is, the advisor's not the problem. The truth is, the bankers need improvement. They need to continue to work. You know, they need to continue to change their actions. But still, nonetheless, although my response was not a bad one, a better one would have been to say what I said. But then afterwards, what I did was I kind of, punched back.
In a quarter mile, keep left to stay on I-280 West.
Oh, good. The GPS is still tracking me. Afterwards, I punched back, and I shared an idea, which was like a good idea, by the way, everyone loved. But before sharing the idea, I said, I'm very disappointed that Saeed is attempting to shift blame to me. That was a punch in the face.
Keep left to stay on I-280 West.
And, afterwards my boss called me, and although everyone's on my side with this, he did share with me the concept of being magnanimous. He was like, bro, you won the war. Saeed blew himself up when he said that there was 0 appointments last week, 0 appointments this week. And his boss said, ouch. Right there, you won the war. Now, yeah, you could highlight, hey, Saeed, whether I'm here or not, doesn't matter. I could have been on vacation. I could have just come back from vacation. It doesn't matter that I was or wasn't here. The reality still is that there were 0 appointments from bankers this week, 0 appointments this week, not last week. He was like, but the Twitter punch, as he called it, the Trump, because Trump would, do stuff like that on Twitter, President Trump, was a punch back. And although it didn't hurt anything, he was like, choose instead to be magnanimous. He was like, because it was still lingering in the air, the fact that Saeed had 0 appointments. Let it linger. You don't have to hit back. You already won the battle. You already won the war, for that matter. And I agree with him. Too many times, Latino people, our response is to punch someone back when they do something wrong to us. And white people, instead, they pick and choose their battles. And many times, I would say most often than not, they will choose to be magnanimous. Let the person think that they won the battle, because they look at the greater picture. And the greater picture here was that Jim Eulinger, Saeed's boss, Mike O'Hay, my boss, were already on my side, because they know it's unacceptable, 0 appointments, right? I didn't have to try to blow up Saeed. Saeed blew up himself. So in conclusion, choose to be magnanimous. Choose to not always respond to someone's argument against you or disrespect towards you. When someone tries to, talk bad about you, choose the times in which you need to respond. And preferably, in most instances, don't give a response. Because many times these responses are not necessary. Let these people blow themselves up, because they will. They have in their own character to be negative people, and as a result, they will blow themselves up, or let other people blow them up for you. All right. So to continue the conversation I was having before, and also to update you on a couple of other things, first of all, I got the GoPro to work again, so it looks like it might have been a battery issue. Second, I just got an Apple iPhone X, and the reason why is because I'm a tech whore. I love technology. It's the only toy I really get to play with. There's not other stuff that I get to spend money on, except for like Harvard gear. And I really like the Apple Watch, which is the primary reason why I got the iPhone X. So I want to see if I use it, play with it. I have 14 days to return, so we'll see. It's not the first time I've gotten it, but I want to try it again because my heart pulled at it. And I waited for about, close to 2 weeks before buying it, because I was like, let me see if the feeling passes me by. Actually, I'd say it's longer than 2 weeks because it's been a while that I've been craving, if you will, the Apple Watch. But most recently, I was like, yeah, let me give it a week, let me give it another week, and now I'm like, you know what? Let me do it. You know? Now, yes, you'll notice I have 2 phones. But the reason why I still have the Note 8 is because I love the Note 8 as well. It's great for... There are things that the Note 8 does that the iPhone doesn't do. And I won't go into the details. But it has, for example, a digital S Pen. The screen is better coverage. The pictures are way better. I can use Viva Video so that I can edit these videos, something that I can't do on the iPhone, etc., etc. So that's why I'm keeping it. I'm also going to use it for GPS, as I'm doing right now. And the phone will be, I got a smaller phone than the Note 8, because the phone again will be for phone calls, text messages. Whereas the Note 8 will be for internet, GPS, pictures, video. Okay, I'm experiencing issues with the GoPro again. Let's see what happens. I'm not going to say certain words that might trigger it. So far, so good. But I was saying before that I have these 2 phones. The Note 8 I kept because it's good for taking notes, internet viewing, checking emails, GPS as I'm using it now, better screen coverage. Whereas the iPhone is good for phone calls and text messages.
Keep left.
If you notice, I got a smaller iPhone than the last time that I did this. Hope I'm going the right way.
On Garden State Parkway North,
Yeah, so we'll give it a shot and see how it goes. Hey kids, I wanted to share with you a couple of things. Number one, I'm buying a cell phone for Michael now because he's 9, and since you guys are running around Harmon Cove Towers like the youngins that you are, I want to be able to track you and see where you are in case, God forbid, something happens. And then afterwards, when I'm back in the car, I'm going to share something with you in reference to amphetamine salts that I want you to know about. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Alright kids, so what I wanted to talk to you about is part of our family history, genetic wise, I think from your grandmother's side, because I've seen these traits in her, so I think it primarily comes from her. But it's the topic of depression, and more specifically the impact of drugs, whether it's medicine or recreational drugs, on it. So I took an amphetamine salt, small milligram, this morning because I take, we've spoken about this before, but I'm starting to take amphetamine salts now more because the methylphenidate was also making me feel a certain way. And what I would do is I would take a second dose of methylphenidate in the afternoon, and I probably should have done that with the amphetamine salts, but I didn't know any better. Now I know. But the problem, although it's very good, like methylphenidate, amphetamine salts, they help me tremendously with productivity. One of the things you got to be mindful of is that it also will enhance your feelings and moods. So earlier today, I was in a very good mood. Because as you recall from earlier in this video, Saeed tried to throw me under the bus, and it backfired on him, and it felt good to have the backing of my boss and Saeed's boss, and I felt good. I was even singing salsa to myself while working. But then I made the mistake of looking at a video of a guy who was lynched in Peru. He was this Canadian guy, I already forgot his name, who was lynched in Peru for killing a shaman or some shit. And they showed the video of him, like, being tortured and lynched, and that fucked me up. So right now I'm super sad. And a couple of things to note. Number one, the problem with medicine and recreational drugs, particularly cocaine And yeah, your father has, you know, in the past used recreational drugs on occasion. I don't necessarily disagree with them. I do and I don't. So for example, cocaine, which is what I'm talking about now, I don't agree with cocaine. I think cocaine is a dangerous drug. And I say that because when I used it, not often, like this was back in the year 2000, so we're talking like 18 years ago when I was 20 something, and I was hanging out with other broker guys on Wall Street. It was, you know, part of what we did, and you know, maybe I did it in total in that time frame 10 times. And you know what, the first couple of times it was pretty fucking cool, you know, because what cocaine does is it elevates whatever you're feeling, and that's the risk. So if you're in a good mood, if you're hanging out with your boys and you're having a great time, what the fuck is this asshole doing? If you're hanging out with your boys and having a great time, then yeah, it's gonna elevate that mood. You're gonna have an even better time because you're happy. It elevates your mood of happiness. But on the flip side, if you're sad or angry, it elevates your mood of sadness or anger. So in 2000, whatever year it was, the last time that I did cocaine in that time frame, I had broken up with some girl, and I was really sad over it. And I remember her name too, Maxine Negron. I was really sad over it, and you know, I did some of the cocaine, and you know, for the first time in my life, that was the first time that I ever felt what depression was, and hence the risk of taking drugs like that, you know, because it opens you up to the possibility of, you know, depression, and it's not good. I'm gonna pause and then continue the video so that it's not. So with that said, now back to the topic of amphetamine salts. Amphetamine salts, which is, again, to help with attention deficit disorder, it's a legal medicine. It's the same thing. You know, I was in a good mood before, and it elevated my good mood. But then I saw that video, and now I'm fucked up. And I don't know if it's because I didn't take that second pill, and maybe I should have, you know. And again, even there, you want to be careful, because what? Do you take one, then two, and then does it become three? Does it become four? You know, you got to control this shit. You got to be careful with this stuff, which is why at your young age, where you guys are showing signs of ADD, I'm not letting you guys take any medicine, because this shit will fuck with you. And you got to be of a certain mental maturity, in my opinion, to be able to take this stuff without, you know, making poor decisions. So anyway, lesson to be learned: remember that medicine and recreational drugs will enhance your mood, particularly psychological medicine, right? Like amphetamine salts, etc. So if you're sad, it can make you sadder. If you're happy, it can make you happier. Also, remember that if you take a methylphenidate or an amphetamine salt in the morning and you start to show signs of feeling sad, then you should probably take a second one in the afternoon, so that way it holds you over until nighttime. Because I also do feel tired right now too, so it's possible that I'm just coming off the rush, not rush, that's a poor choice of words. I'm coming off of the drive that you get from taking amphetamine salt, so I could be crashing right now, if you will. So that could be it too. All right, see you later.